We don't need gun control. We need demon control.
Stop. Stop. Stop.
There's a wide range of reasons for this uniquely American violence, but access to guns is not the problem.
Laws won't change evil. Evil doesn't obey law.
So then why are we banning abortion? Why are we banning it if these evil hags are just will not stop, will not fuck? Oh my god, his face, by the way. These evil hags. The same conservatives hold the values of being anti-abortion. It's so funny how they're so inconsistent with their rhetoric. At one point, like, it's if we ban abortions they'll stop, but then you can't regulate guns. Only dumb right-wingers that are against it based.
Laws. You know what I'm saying? If a person's determined to do something, I don't care.
I think it's like what, 30 to 40% of America though is anti-abortion. I could be like, could be 20%, but I think it's 30 to 40%. What is this though? This is insane. You know, anyone from any other hobby doesn't have this many tools for said hobby. Like, you don't see people who knit have like 30 different like needles. Yeah, tapestry needles. You're spending all this money on guns, meanwhile your barbecue is like falling apart. Depends on the hobby. So I love how like Sochiso's like, depends on the hobby. I mean, I agree with you, but also somehow it doesn't depend on the hobby. You have different things that do different functions. This, I'm pretty sure there's many of these same guns that function probably the exact same. I want to learn how to do the bow and arrow instead of shooting. Honestly, I've thought about it.
They'll do a bat, they'll do a bomb.
Howard Durling is a lifetime member of the NRA.
But a baseball bat does far less damage than a semi-automatic weapon.
Oh, I understand that. I understand that. But nobody seems to talk about over in Chicago. More people are killed in Chicago in a week than what happened.
Also, he said Chicago. Once again, Chicago's a dog whistle. Do they not understand that, like, let's say the state of Kansas decided to ban all guns. Said, we're doing a gun ban. People don't understand that, like, you can just drive across the border. And that's what happens with Chicago. I mean, Chicago is not as bad as it once was, but they still invoke it. A, it's not as bad as it once was. And B, people bring guns from what is it, Louisiana? Not Louisiana. From outside of Chicago. Around Chicago. Come from Indiana, that sort of thing, not Louisiana. The height of violence was in the late early 90s, and they can't let go. They can't fucking let go. They're like, Chicago, Chicago. It's not violent anymore. It hasn't been violent, and they invoke it because Chicago is the black on black crime. So instead of saying black on black crime, they say, just look at Chicago. Inner city, that's where all the black people are. 60% of Chicago's guns from out of state.
He argues tough gun laws in Chicago haven't stopped gun violence there.
Where do they get the guns? It's like, these people are, like I said, no imagination. I don't know if they're lacking imagination on purpose. Tough gun laws haven't helped. Where the fuck are they getting the guns? Where the fuck are they getting the guns? Is it from other states?
It's a demon possession problem, not
These people will be like, it's a demon possession. Instead of people bringing guns out of the state, it's a demon possession. Dude, America is gone.
Not a gun possession. We don't need gun control. We need demon control.
Stop. 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 Christians in America are so, there's like nothing. Your brain's gone. These people's brain is gone. Like, these people have been Christian for like their whole lives, and they're what, like 50, 60? I mean, that's what happens.
If you want it bad enough, you will get one.
Same with abortions, bitch! He legally obtained one. He waited until he could legally buy a gun.
Joe Cristino says this was a failure in school safety.
What they need to do is harden the schools and protect.
Oh my my god, the latest term is harden the schools.
The kids. You try to get on an airplane, you go through a screening to make sure that it's a secure environment. We need to ensure that our schools are secure environments as well.
These are all points echoed from the podium.
The various gun control policies
Exactly,
being pushed
Sochisto.
by the left would have done nothing to prevent
He tried to get one when he was 17 and he couldn't,
the horror
correct?
that took place.
The former president read the names of the dead in Uvalde.
Aletha Ramirez.
And while he says guns are not the problem, they were banned from the room during his speech due to safety concerns.
Katie, Donald Trump suggested arming teachers today, but what impact might that have on gun policy?
Republican lawmakers who want to court Donald Trump's wide base of support. Whenever he says something, they essentially pick up the ball and run with it. So expect Trump's allies in Congress, in Washington, as well as his allies at the state level, those state lawmakers, for them to push forward with his agenda because they want his support. Ian.
All right. Thanks, Katie.
Evil swept across Uvalde yesterday. What they need now more than ever is our love. What they need is uplifting from all of our fellow Texans and all of our fellow Americans.
What did you think about the governor's speech?
What we heard inside from the governor, it's just bullshit.
State Senator Roland Gutierrez represents this part of the state.
You know, after Sutherland Springs, Santa Fe near Houston, after El Paso, you know, he had roundtables. Those roundtables were supposed to have solutions. What were they about? A lot of good that did these kids over here.
Over the last 15 years, Texas has enacted at least 25.
I don't know. They're gonna keep saying it's something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's the schools aren't hardened enough. Like, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane.
Bills easing its gun restrictions.
Republicans passed an open carry bill this last session, which means that you can walk around with a long rifle without a license of any kind. We have a problem in Texas. We have a problem in these United States that's not being addressed. I'm not talking about taking people's guns away, simple solutions that we have a little bit more control about how this person accesses this kind of weaponry.
What kind of power does an AR-15 have?
Last night I had to be there with my constituents. So I didn't really want to talk to anybody. They're just patiently waiting because they were waiting on DNA matches because their children's faces had just been shattered. Unrecognizable.
It's awful.
Since 2016, there have been 6 mass shootings in the state. In total, 92 people died. There's a cycle in American history that every time there's a mass shooting, there's this cry for gun reform, for change in laws. I'm headed to the site of the biggest mass shooting in Texas's history, a church in Sutherland Springs. There, the church members did not call for this massive gun reform. In fact, they embraced guns.
I was in the second pew over on this side. I see everything. I saw everything.
Julie Workman and her son survived the massacre in 2017. 26 people in the church were killed.
And I looked over at my son, and the next thing I realize is I see the barrel of his AR pointing down at my son's back. So I actually watched him fire the bullet, and it paralyzed my son into his back.
Having gone through such a horrific experience, and now seeing other people very close by live through a similar experience, what is that like for you?
I immediately wanted to throw up, and I started bawling. My heart was broken because I know that there's going to be a whole nother group of people that are going to live the same things that I have lived through for the past 4 years.
After every mass shooting, there is a call for new legislation, for gun reform. Do you support those efforts?
I am a gun owner. I wanted my gun that day. I think there's some things that could be adjusted, could be looked at. What was it? 18-year-old buys 2 ARs and buys tactile gear. Why is somebody buying this? They're not in the military. They're not in the police department. I believe a gun is a tool, and in the right hands, the tool has a purpose. There's a reason we have a Second Amendment. Our founding fathers knew that we needed that tool. I believe if we...
Oh my god, it was a tool against the government. It was a tool because they were mad that the British had, like, they had to pay taxes to the British or something. My god.
Take guns completely away, that we will end up in utter chaos.
What is it now? What is it now? First of all, no one's saying take guns away. And second, what the fuck are we in now if it's not utter chaos?
I think one can say effectively that guns no longer are an instrument of utility. All right, they fully graduated or transformed into a symbol of identity.
Yes.
The overwhelming perpetrators of mass shooters in the United States are white men.
Mm-hmm.
This latest shooting seems to flip the script. We don't know much about the shooter, but he appears to be Latino.
Mm-hmm.
Does that surprise you?
Does it surprise me? It would surprise me if he advocated for the same white nationalist ideological incentive or reason why he did this. But I would say that the relevant observation is here that you're going to find in terms of the rise of mass shooters is what he shares with many of the white shooters is a sense of a strong and intense sense of social disconnectivity.
Yes.
A sense of personal alienation.
Yes.
Not having access to historical social linkages that...
That's a fair assessment. Britphobia?
From which mental health is derived. There is a racial dynamic here that hasn't been appreciated yet when one is talking about expanding access to guns. All right. The United States has never tolerated the notion
He's right.
of minority communities.
I mean, because it flips the script in a way that, like, the majority of these are from white men. You saw a lot of right-wingers say stuff like, oh, people are gonna make this an identity issue. People are gonna make this an identity issue. They're gonna say white man, white man, white man. And, you know, there's a reason that happens. White nationalism is one of the most violent ideologies in America. It is radicalized young white men into thinking about stuff like the Great Replacement and stuff. Like the Buffalo shooter. That was his reason.
Pursuing their Second Amendment rights.
Do you think there'll be any policy change to come out of this latest shooting?
I would like to say yes. I really would. No, I think by and large,
no.
Because you're liable, unfortunately. Look, if it didn't occur after Sandy Hook and all those children were shot, it's not likely to occur now. In fact, as I mentioned, we seem to be saying that the direction to go in is make access to guns even easier. All right, for people with no qualifications and no need to acquire those qualifications. So if there's a change, it'll unfortunately be worse. So the answer to your question is, I would like to be optimistic about that, but it doesn't appear that we're moving in that direction. We seem to be going in the opposite direction.
But the community thing is kind of what I was touching on about guys in life yesterday. Not so much these boys need dads as they need a sense of connection. Yes, sure. Uvalde guy was an animal torturer incel. He never expressed. If you can show me an article talking about him expressing how women were the cause of his problems, that's true, but there's no evidence of that. Did he? I don't think threatening SA makes you makes you an incel. There's multiple ideologies that make you an incel. Showed off a rifle he bought and threatened to shoot up. Incels generally are more open about being incels. They can't stop talking about it. I've never seen an incel not have some sort of anti-woman manifesto. Oh, the user spoke to CNN said Ramos made personal and graphic threats during one live stream. Amanda Robbins said Ramos verbally threatened to break down her door and essay and murder her after she rebuffed his sexual advances, possibly. She said she witnessed Ramos threaten other girls with similar acts of SA and violence. It's possible. He wasn't in any like incel groups. It's very weird. The animal torture thing I saw was a live clip from someone claiming they knew the guy. Oh, okay. I was confused. Okay. It's possible. He was strangely quiet on social media, other than that app, apparently. We're talking about the Texas shooter. Yeah, there's not another one. I know America's kind of wild. And you expect them to be expect there to be another one. Knock on wood, there's not another shooter. I mean, I was fucking bullied too, aren't we all? I was bullied for my speech.
We are angry, and we want our senators to do their job.
Ed Markey, look at that, look at him. Look how fucking, he looks fucking good, man. Ed Markey looks fucking good.
We're at a press conference outside the Senate here in Washington, and it's been less than 48 hours since the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. We're going to be hearing from Democratic lawmakers soon, but they're leaving to go on a recess for more than a week later today.
So shame on the people who watched my friends and classmates die on Marjorie Stoneman Douglas and continued not to act. Shame on the lawmakers who promised to protect us and now have tighter connections to the gun lobby than ever before.
The Senate is supposed to go on recess for the long weekend here. Do you think they should be leaving town right now?
No, I think that they need to stay here, figure out how they can solve this, because if we continue to wait, more and more shootings are going to happen.
Ladybug.
More and more Americans are going to die.
The manosphere.
We are not prepared to allow our schools to continue as killing fields.
There were chants from some of the people here saying, do your job, stay. What is your response when you guys are leaving now?
To set the table for next week, and then we will work really hard to try to find a bipartisan product. But listen, I'm not going to negotiate forever. I've been through this before. I know sometimes Republicans, are more interested in talking than doing, so.
Oh my God, they're like, yeah, they're already giving up. Oh my God, they're already giving up. That's bad. Dude, if you can't handle the long haul, why are you a fucking politician? Why are you a politician?
If we can't get some progress by the end of next week, then
by the end of next week? What?
Yeah, I'll say to Senator Schumer, it's time to take votes.
Yeah, but Cory Booker protested for like a whole entire weekend, and these guys can't even imagine that. Alongside other people. The Capitol, Cory Bush, not Cory Booker, thank you. You have to consistently try.
Senator Schumer's committed that we are going to have votes one way or the other, Senate, on issues like background checks.
Shadows would be like, you got the names mixed up. You must be a fucking moron.
Outside, there were tears, chanting, and a feeling of intense urgency. But inside the Capitol, it felt like a typical day before a long weekend, because this is far from the first chance lawmakers have had to try for reform. For example, the House passed universal background checks in 2019 and again in 2021. And even though that has more than 80% public support, that's gone nowhere in the Senate.
Wow.
Not only isn't there momentum to make big changes, but also a lot of Republicans didn't want to talk about it either. Senator Hawley, why do you think the U.S. is the only country in the world that sees mass shootings like this constantly?
I don't know the answer to that.
Stop. He hasn't even thought about it. And he won't
talk about it either. Senator Hawley, why do you think the U.S. is the only country in the world that sees mass shootings like this constantly?
I don't know the answer to that. Yes, I don't know.
Any gun control pieces of legislation you could vote for right now, sir? Red flag laws, universal background check. Senator, any update on those red flag laws? Nope. Senator, can I ask you about what happened this school shooting?
Sorry I'm late I'm speaking on the floor. I've got a vote to speak on the floor.
Even Democrats who want to get something done aren't sure the votes will be there when they return in more than a week. Should the Senate be staying in session instead of leaving it and keep this urgency around gun reform on the front burner?
What we're doing is trying to find, are there 10 Republicans who will join us? There's 50 Democrats who are willing to do all kinds of reasonable steps to promote gun safety. Are there 10 Republicans who will join us? And we're having those discussions. It's not necessarily the question of whether there's a recess or not, because you can talk to somebody directly on the phone or on a Zoom or in person and say, hey, could you join? What could you join us with? And so those discussions are ongoing and very, very serious. Thus far, it's hard to see how we would get more than 4 or 5, but we're going to continue the discussions. Okay?
Senator Cassidy, are there any of these gun safety measures,
Mandated
legislation?
and regulations to solve gun problems such as the state of Illinois. You mean when people bring guns from outside the state? What was it, like 60% of the guns from coming into Chicago come from out of state? So it seems like an out of state problem. Is that what you're talking about? Interesting. Interesting how you bring up Chicago when A, they're not as violent as they were in the 90s, so move on from Chicago, for crying out loud. Chicago is like A, a dog whistle, because I'm talking about black people, and B, Chicago is not as violent as it was in the 80s and 90s, and once again, 60% of the guns coming that are in Chicago are from out of state, so maybe you need to work on gun reform in general, on a federal level. Illinois, you gotta look at Illinois. I have.
And that are coming up that you would support?
I haven't seen them yet. We have 2 things from the House, which I'm told Schumer is not bringing up.
What about raising the purchasing age for a firearm in this country to 21 years old? I know you're a doctor. Do you think that perhaps maybe 21 is a more mature age to own a gun?
There's a little bit of an irony. The soldiers protecting us and you pick the country. Some desert in Iraq are 18 years old. And so somehow we trust them there, but we don't trust them here.
Do you think that there is
Unsurprising, Jim.
any room to ban assault weapons in this country? Why does someone need an AR-15?
Well, if you talk to the people that own it, killing feral pigs in the, whatever, the middle of
He said feral pigs in the middle of Louisiana.
Louisiana, they wonder, why would you take it away from me? I'm law-abiding. I've never done anything. I use it to kill feral pigs. The action of a criminal deprives me of my right.
The last 2 shooters, the Buffalo shooter and the Uvalde school shooter, both were law-abiding citizens. Those fuckers are vicious, but just keep your trash in proper places and they won't mug you for a half-eaten croissant. True. The amount of guns that people own, and not everyone has to deal with fucking feral hogs. Feral pigs, feral hogs. Like, come on, dude. And also, you know what you can do? You can set traps for these guys. They're stupid. These feral pigs are stupid. Set a trap. Pig trap, hog trap. There's like multiple traps. Look at this. They're too cunning. You need an AR-15. True. Back in Nam, we hunted feral pigs holding a buck knife and a necklace of human ears. Ew. Tina hates veterans. I love American veterans, okay? I don't know what you're talking about. Texas police lieutenant explains why law enforcement did not go into Uvalde school.
Wolf, is that there was multiple officers that arrived on scene. There was 3 officers that arrived that made entry at one of the entrances where the gunman actually made entrance to. We had another 4 officers that made entry at the other entrance of the school. So there was officers inside that school. As they were taking gunfire, they were also calling in for reinforcement, backup, tactical teams, snipers, any additional personnel that could arrive to assist to not only with the situation, but also to assist in evacuating students and teachers. At that time, that's when a U.S. Border Patrol tactical officer.
But they were already on the scene. I know you're lying. They were already on the scene.
Officer arrived, also with a Zavala County Sheriff's deputy, as well as 2 additional Uvalde Police Department officers.
For 1 kid.
Were able to go into that classroom with a ballistic shield as cover, and of course, we know that one of those officers, an agent, actually was shot, was grazed at the top of the head, but they were able to shoot and kill the suspect and preserve any other life. We know that there was other injured children inside that classroom that they were able to save as well and get them to cover. And at that point, it became a recovery process, a rescue operation, trying to rescue the injured and also any other potential children or teachers that were inside those classrooms.
But don't current best practices, Lieutenant, call for officers to disable a shooter as quickly as possible, regardless of how many officers are actually on site?
Correct. The active shooter situation, you want to stop the killing, you want to preserve life, but also one thing that, of course, the American people need to understand is that officers are making entry into this building They do not know where the gunman is. They are hearing gunshots. They are receiving gunshots. At that point, if they proceeded any further, not knowing where this suspect was at, they could have been shot. They could have been killed. And at that point, that gunman would have the opportunity to kill other people inside that school. So they were able to contain that gunman inside that classroom so that he was not able to go to any other portions of the school to commit any other killings.
Your colleague at the Department of Public Safety, Lieutenant, said the majority of the gunfire was actually done at the beginning. Does
Come on, Wolf Blitzer, do your job and question this fuck, dude. The older heads on CNN will like just let a sheriff or whatever, a lieutenant, be like, oh, you know, try to do a cover up, and he'll help him. He'll be like, oh yeah, it happened in the beginning anyway. And they were following him in the beginning. They were still behind him. We couldn't be 100% sure we let all those kids die. Yes. They waited. Dude. They said they waited for the janitor. They're blaming two people. They're blaming the teacher who left the door propped open, and then they're blaming the janitor for not opening the key, for not having the key to open the door. Me not threatening the sheriff's entire family in my head right now. It would be in the Texas lieutenant's best interest to fucking lie. No, they are. They're trying. Dude, we're witnessing a massive cover up in front of our very eyes. Seriously. They're trying to do a massive cover up. They're really working overtime to do a massive cover up. And the younger journalists at CNN are not letting them. And journalists everywhere else are not letting them. And I love that. I think it's good. I think it's a start. And it's a heel turn. The fact that there's journalists at CNN who are like, there's something wrong here. It's a heel turn. It's a massive heel turn. Someone heckled Ted Cruz while he was eating at a restaurant last night. Good. I hope they never find peace again. I hope these people never find peace. You're a public servant. You don't get to eat peacefully while the people in your province or state die. You will never eat peacefully again in public.
To take blood money. Why? When 19 children die, 19 children.
They get to be protected. Is he smiling?
Die. That's on your hands. That's on.
Is he smiling?
Your hands.
Oh, you fucking. Oh my god. What a piece of shit. Dude, everything about him screams like emotionless. Like his speech yesterday at the NRA convention, it just was so fake. Like he doesn't feel emotion. I don't believe. I hope a feral hog gets him. Same. Guys, if you don't want the feral hogs to get to you, you should subscribe to the channel right now. So I'm sending out the feral hogs to everyone. I have all your addresses. Just kidding, I don't have anyone's address. But if you like the content, feel free to subscribe. It helps me continue what I'm doing, and it helps me put coffee in my mouth and in my tummy.